I was looking through the comment section, and as everybody was talking about this Forza game and such, I saw a comment and somebody said that Xbox games appearing on PlayStation is pretty much its own thing, that PlayStation games will never appear on Xbox. Now, this was very interesting. I don't remember. They were replying to one of you in on the community here, this person who said that. I was quite, interested in taking a look at it, but I can't find the comment anymore. So I guess it's one of those things where if you want to find it yourself, you can maybe come in and jump in the conversation. But I saw it and I thought to myself, well, that's a very interesting position because number one, PlayStation already has MLB The Show on Xbox. Whoever wants to say what they want to say, they can say it because, in my own opinion and in reality too, there is no way that that game has gone to Xbox without the active consent and active development of PlayStation. PlayStation could have said, no, we're not going to make a game on Xbox, but they did. Not only did they do that, they made it for Game Pass 3 years in a row. So I guess that ship has sailed. It's only a matter of convenience now. Should one Xbox game stay convenient enough for them with poor sales, you can bet that they will definitely get that game on the Xbox platform if it's possible. But again, let's just put that to rest for now. Let's kind of put that aside, right? I do have a question for PlayStation fans. If these Xbox games don't go to, if these PlayStation games don't go to Xbox, who's going to buy them? It's an important question. If these games do not go to Xbox at some point, who's going to buy them? I wonder if anybody has actually considered that there are games in development right now, and this is not the live service games. The live service games are going to be multi-plat. They're going to go straight to PC day one. Some of them, or I guess I would say at least one of them, which is Marathon, will be coming to Xbox, right? But all the other single-player games that are not God of War, Spider-Man, and possibly Horizon, who's going to buy them? Because the buying power of the PlayStation fan for the exclusives is at this particular cap and a limit. There's a limit for it. It's around 15-ish million. Marvel Spider-Man 2018 was an exception, but that 15 million is around the buying power before they start taking the game and putting it elsewhere. And that was when we had PS4 as a platform that actually did support those games. Everything else that has been PS5 only, the max buying power that we've seen is about 12 million for Marvel Spider-Man 2. So, right now, at this moment in time, the max buying power of the PlayStation single-player game that would launch and do well, that's the percentage. I remember when Sarbrovian did that video where he basically pasted all the percentages of these PlayStation games and who was going, and how basically he was castigating the PlayStation community and saying, none of you showed up and bought these PlayStation games. And he was saying, I showed up, I was there, I was buying these games, and so on and so forth. That was, in my opinion, a wake-up call to anybody who was on the PlayStation ecosystem to look at that data set from a PlayStation fan, like a hardcore PlayStation fan, right? Pointing to that and saying, wow, the way that we engage with our games as a platform means that most of us are not really that interested in these exclusives. Instead, we're constantly buying games, the live service games, and that's all we're doing. I was watching another video by Island Gaming, and he cited a clip from Iron Lord's podcast. Okay? So the Iron Lord's podcast is where they come out and they talk about a lot of this stuff. And one of the gentlemen there was pointing all these PlayStation games and saying, he was pulling all the physical copies of, Ratchet and Clank and God of War and all that and saying, all this while PlayStation fans were talking about these games as their bangers. And then he pulled out one game not knowing that it was, it was this game. And he pulled out a copy of Call of Duty. Bro, I mean, I don't want to be pedantic, but I laughed, okay? Don't judge me. I laughed simply because this whole talk about, exclusivity and all was always a fugazi. The PlayStation, platform and console is basically a third-party, haven for people to come in and sell their games. Nothing wrong with that. PlayStation makes 30%. But a lot of the talk around the exclusives being so special and all, there's nothing to be said in that regard. anymore that can be treated with any form of respect. And so the question I'm asking is, if this is the max buying power of the biggest games, then we look at smaller titles and, mid-range titles and look at their buying power. And you look at games like Astro Ball, you look at games like even Ratchet and Clank. Those are games that maybe you'd say that their production budget's not really high. PlayStation finds itself stuck within a rock and a hard place where they either take their games to PC, sell as much as they can sell, or if they're not going to be as forthcoming with the PC ecosystem, then they are in a position where they might need to move to Xbox with some titles, just like MLB The Show. But those sales will have to be super duper low. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention. Now look at what's going on the PC side. This is how I can almost, with, I would say a little bit of, confidence, say that PlayStation finds itself in the same situation that Xbox does, even with a higher console sale margin. Just recently, shout out to Helldivers Alerts on Twitter. This is a Helldivers fan account. They basically posted here, at least a week ago actually, that Sony has come to an agreement with a few countries, reducing the number of locked regions from 177 to 133. Progress is being made. So now they're expanding their reach on PC, but they will still max out. They still will max out. Because number one, they don't have a lot of day one for their big titles. And for their small titles, they seem to want to go day one. But again, there are other games that are also going to be competing with them. And then with their region lock, which they're still not at the same place as many other titles, they're still in this particular position. When they go ahead and finish with the region lock, growth is still going to be on their minds, and they're still going to be looking for where to sell more games. I think this is the roadblock that Xbox finally reached with its software, and the natural progression for Xbox was to go straight to PlayStation. If PlayStation is following this particular pathway, bringing its games to Steam, already flirting with day and date, and also bringing one of its games so far directly that it's developing its own studio, MLB The Show, while also allowing for other games that it had a hand in, like Death Stranding, Ilphonic's Predator Hunting Grounds, to go to Xbox, then I can almost say that this is more than likely going to lead them here if the market and the industry does not abandon the extreme obsession with live service games. And yes, it's live service games. It may hit one or few, two of those games. Maybe it may even do 10 live service games. But still, that does not, in a sense, change the nature of the PlayStation player. And so I see the Xbox ecosystem as their next stop. I don't see any other way. They can sell more consoles all they want. They can push even to PS6 and sell basically the same amount of consoles. These same players are going to be playing these same kinds of games. Matt Piscatella just did a thing. Y'all didn't see it. This guy pretty much put out what I think is the hottest piece of information that you can pretty much wrap your mind around. He put out a December 2020 top 10 games played on PlayStation 5 ranked by monthly active users, and 2024 December as well, also by monthly active users. Then he highlighted what games were showing up 4 years later. So right at the cusp of the generation launching, these players still are playing these games. There is a likelihood that many of them are still going to continue to play these games down the road. So already we can see at least how this thing is trending. Because if you even look at the list from 2020, there were more single-player games launched at the time in Coalition. Think about it. Cyberpunk 2077 came out that month in December. Miles Morales also came out around that same time. Astro's Playroom, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right? But man, by this time here, you are looking at a whole different kind of gamer. And even in that December, in the top 10, if there were any single player games, and there was Indiana Jones, it didn't crack that list. I don't know. I look at this and this is what I see. Maybe I may be wrong. I might be mistaken. And whatever whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. I just strongly believe that this is probably where we're going to see PlayStation very soon. And all it needs is just one video game to go ahead and do something weird. And immediately they're going to pivot again because they've already done it once. They're going to do it again. Thanks for watching the video. Talk to me in the comment section. Peace out.